Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the command deck of the UES Retribution, her weathered hands gripping the rail as she watched the tactical display. 700,000 ships, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, hung in the void like an ocean of death, their hulls gleaming under the distant starlight. Each vessel bore the same message painted in bold letters across their sides. Remember, Kepler, 442b. 3 months ago, the colony world of New Harmony had been home to 12 million humans. Now it was nothing but radioactive glass and ash. "Ma'am," Commander Torres approached from behind, his voice tight with barely contained rage. "The Zephyrian delegation is requesting another audience. They claim they want to discuss terms." Chen's jaw tightened. The Zephyrians, a species that had conquered half the galaxy through systematic genocide, had made one critical miscalculation. They had assumed humans were like every other species they'd encountered, quick to surrender when faced with overwhelming force. They were wrong. "Tell them," Chen said slowly, "that the time for talk ended when they turned children into vapor." The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. Every officer present had lost someone on New Harmony. Chen herself had lost her daughter and 2 grandchildren. The pain was a constant ache in her chest, but she had learned to forge it into something harder than diamond. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled through fear for millennia. Their crystalline warships, each the size of a small moon, had laid waste to countless civilizations. When they had demanded humanity's surrender and received only defiant silence in response, they had chosen to make an example of New Harmony. Big mistake. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command." "Put it through." President Martinez's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grim but resolute. "Admiral Chen, the Security Council has voted unanimously. You have full authorization for Operation Reckoning. Show them what happens when they threaten our children." Chen nodded. "Understood, sir. We'll send them a message they won't forget." "Sarah," Martinez's voice softened for a moment, "I know this is personal for all of you, but remember, we're not becoming them. We're showing them that some lines should never be crossed." The transmission ended, and Chen turned to address her bridge crew. "You heard the president. This isn't about conquest or glory. This is about justice." She activated the fleet-wide communication channel. 700,000 ships, 12 billion crew members, all waited for her words. "Warriors of humanity," her voice rang out across the void. "Today we face an empire that believes might makes right. They think that superior numbers and bigger guns give them the authority to snuff out innocent lives. They've never encountered a species that fights not for territory or resources, but for the simple principle that our children deserve to grow up under open skies." She paused, letting her words sink in across the vast armada. "The Zephyrians wiped out New Harmony because they thought we would cower. They thought we would beg. They thought we were like every other species they've bulldozed into submission. But they don't understand what they're dealing with. We are humans. We are the species that looked at the impossible and said, 'Try me.' We are the descendants of beings who stared into the darkness between stars and decided to make it our highway." Across the fleet, weapons systems hummed to life. Plasma cannons that could crack continents. Antimatter torpedoes that could turn moons into cosmic dust. Shield generators powered by miniature suns. Humanity had spent 2 centuries turning their technological prowess into instruments of war. And now the galaxy would see the result. Every ship in this fleet represents a promise, Chen continued. A promise that no human child will ever again wake up to orbital bombardment. A promise that no human parent will ever again watch their family vaporized by aliens who think we're weak. The Zephyrian fleet hung in the distance. 50,000 vessels, each one a masterpiece of destruction that had terrorized the galaxy for eons. They had ruled through fear for so long that they had forgotten what it felt like to be afraid. They were about to remember. "The enemy expects us to negotiate," Chen said, her voice growing cold as space itself. "They expect us to offer tribute or territory in exchange for our survival. Instead, we're going to give them a lesson in human mathematics." She raised her hand, and across 700,000 ships targeting systems locked onto Zephyrian vessels. "They killed 12 million of our people." Chen's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried the weight of humanity's fury. "Today, we teach them that for every human life they take, we will take 100 of theirs. For every human child they murder, we will turn one of their worlds into a monument of ash." Her hand fell. "All ships, fire!" The darkness exploded into light as 700,000 warships unleashed humanity's answer to genocide. Beams of concentrated energy that could melt through neutronium. Missiles that bent space-time itself. Weapons that humanity had built, not out of aggression, but out of the simple, terrifying realization that sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to become the nightmare that keeps monsters awake at night. As the Zephyrian fleet began to die, Admiral Chen allowed herself one small smile. The galaxy was about to learn something that tyrants throughout human history had discovered too late. Humanity was at its most dangerous when it was fighting for something it loved.